Welcome to Fresh Ink Online Edition. Today we have a very, very special interview. We are here with Gerard Way, who of course does the Umbrella Academy, and you also may know him because he's a very successful recording artist. But we're talking comics primarily today. Yeah. First off, you know, a lot of people don't realize you actually started in comics and then kind of transitioned to music. So
I did, yeah. I started, super young. I would go to the corner store with my brother. It was like a 10-minute walk away, and I just started getting into comics. I think actually I got my first comics from my grandmother when I got my tonsils removed, and it was like...
You had an awesome grandma.
She was really cool. She got me a Super Pickle and Captain America and a couple other comics, and so I was hooked right away. And then I wanted to keep that feeling going, so then I would go to the store every week. My first job was at a comic shop called Metropolis Comics in Bloomfield, New Jersey. It doesn't exist anymore. I think it was a beeper store for a while after. And then I started writing comics very early, and then I decided, well, I don't want to just write. I want to learn how to draw. I'd always been into art. So then I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York, and my major was cartooning. I had, lots of really good instructors there, like Joey Cavalieri, Klaus Janson, Carmine Infantino. Nice. Joe Orlando, Sal Amendola, just like the best people. I had Dame Darcy, and a really crazy mix of people too. So we did that, and then after that I kind of built up a portfolio, and then I interned at DC for a while, actually, through the school, into my senior year. And then Andy Helfer gave me my first art job in comics, and it was for a page in the Big Book of the Weird Wild West. So the Paradox Press at the time, they'd put all these really crazy big books out. They had the Big Book of Death.
I remember that, Big Book of Horror.
Yeah,
Big Book of,
they're great. And they're just like these narrative little shorts by different artists. Right. And, some of them are very informative, too. So that was my first drawing gig. And then I just kind of hit the pavement for years until... and it was just a really bad time in comics, It was just really bad.
Was this, kind of after post-death of Superman, kind of the image...
Post-image, even. This was kind of like the effect of what had happened when everybody put chromium covers and special bagged. So
glow-in-the-dark covers,
it
foil
was,
embossed.
Exactly. Yeah, back when, people that weren't even interested in comics would just be buying because they think they're worth money. Then they felt kind of burned by comics, and then a lot of the comics were crap, so they didn't actually grab a readership. So you had this really poor time in comics. It was the slump after the 90s boom.
Right.
So
well, it is kind of funny, too, because they just had the sort of, not gimmicky per se, but the Obama Spider-Man, where all these people who never read comics ran out and bought that.
Of course,
and they've had a bunch of, even Marvel's doing, variant covers now and stuff. So it's kind of, we're cycling back. I'm like,
I hope
history, remember?
Yeah, I hope it doesn't go too far. I think variant covers can be a really cool thing, especially guest covers and things like that. But I hope, I love, if it's functional, like Superman Beyond, being 3D, that's great.
Yeah.
That's totally different. They're not pushing that to the guy on the street. So, things like that work, and obviously League did this really great thing with 3D glasses, and so there's lots of cool stuff. But the minute it starts to get into there's 10 covers, so you have to get them all, and there's a trading card in there. Yeah, we're in trouble again. So
no umbrella trading cards.
No umbrella trading cards. No, I wouldn't even know. I think they would just be made up baseball players in the umbrella universe, and that would be Umbrella Academy trading cards.
Nice.
Actually, that'd be really fun. Maybe we'll do that.
I
think they'd be hockey players, really obscure hockey players. You get their whole history in the back and how they lost that tooth or got that injury.
Right.
I think we'll do that.
Don't name any of them Tony Twist, and you'll be fine.
So then after that, I hit the pavement for a long time, and that was kind of a drag because it was such a bad time. If you didn't automatically bring readers through your writing or art, you weren't getting a gig, really. So, and then I ended up working in animation. I was a perpetual intern, though. I interned for years at various different things. And I interned at this show called Sheep in the Big City, which was a Cartoon Network show. And then the story goes, as everybody knows, I had, as the copy boy, even come up with an idea for a show, and then I ended up with an option.
Oh, nice.
For Curious Pictures. And then Cartoon Network, we were in talks, and they had turned the show down because they had just optioned another food-oriented show called Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which I totally back, and I think they made the right decision. That's one of my favorite shows. So, and then after that, I was lucky enough to land a job doing toy design. So I worked on a lot of really crazy toys, I would be the turnaround artist. And
You've had every dream job.
I've had a lot of really great jobs. Yeah.
So rock star, toy artist, comic book writer, comic book artist.
It was pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. I've been very lucky. And so I worked at this great little place in Hoboken that doesn't exist anymore called Funhouse, and I worked with all these great people. And oddly enough, they all moved out here. And Kat, the woman who was teaching me actually how to paint maquettes, painted the Umbrella Academy PVCs. Just ended up being the person, and it's the best painting job I've ever seen. So awesome. Everything kind of came full circle with that, and but I had to quit that job because the band started to take off. I remember bringing a VHS copy of us opening for Jimmy Eat World, and it's something like 14,000 people, and I'm like, look, I have to quit, and I'll show you why. And I showed them, and everybody was just psyched, and they said, okay, we'll have fun. And that was it. I got a band.
and then you came back to comics a couple years later after becoming phenomenally successful.
Right, which was accidental. And I mean, it wasn't like, we wanted to be obviously successful, but that wasn't really the goal, and we just wanted to exist and survive. And it got, way bigger than we'd ever thought.
Right.
And that kind of found me. That was like the one thing I didn't really pursue. Like, I pursued comics.
Right.
I just worked really hard at it, did the work, we all wrote the music, and did the touring, but it's not like I chased it like comics, So then, I got to come back to it and do another book.
I'm curious a little bit about some of your influences and stuff, because I'd read you like Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, and that, the way that Morrison kind of imploded that set comic and really made it his own and made it really out there, but fascinating. I can see sort of like little tendrils and traces of that.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I could directly tell you, like, when they re-released trades of Doom Patrol, which only happened like 4 years ago, and they started re-releasing them, I picked it up, and I read them as a teenager working at that comic shop. I was like, wow, these not only hold up, but I think they're better now. Maybe it's because I'm older, but they make more sense now, and they have more of a resonance. I mean, it goes to show you how far ahead of his time Grant always is.
Yeah.
And he was probably literally writing it knowing, this might not make sense to people now, but it'll make sense for maybe 10 years. And he's brilliant like that. But that would directly inspire me to say, there's nothing like this anymore. I'm not going to rip this off. I'm not going to copy this. But I want to at least get the spirit of this down on paper, Yeah. And so that was the biggest kind of kick in the ass for me to go do a comic, was rereading Doom Patrol.
Very cool.
That was the big one. And there's lots of, various influences, but a lot of it's been stuff like BBC's The Prisoner. That was a really huge show for me. And when I finally met Grant and we got to talk comics, that was the one place where our brains kind of met up in terms of influence. Was he said, well, my biggest influence is The Prisoner. And I said, well, my biggest influence for comics has been The Prisoner. So we had no idea.
Art-wise, I know you did a cover for Rex Mundi. I think
did.
Number 15, maybe?
Yes, I think it's 15.
And also you've done some stuff actually for Umbrella, like different, I think, covers and sort of like stuff in the back of the books, like in the trade. Will there be any more sort of covers or anything that you're working on?
I actually talked to Scott recently because the Rex Mundi cover went over so well and I was so nervous about it. I had actually done that in a hotel room in Chicago. And then I had this piece of paper. It was like with me for months, like just this piece of paper, and and it was getting bent up and screwed up, and I had to draw on it and then ink it, and so eventually I did it. I had come to find out that Mike Mignola ended up being such a fan of it that he wanted to buy it, and that was
no way.
Such a huge deal to me. Yeah, and I asked for it. I said, well, maybe we can trade or something, so we'll see what happens with that.
All right, thank you. That's
Thank
it for
you.
part one, but of course there will be part two with Gerard coming up very soon, and you can find it, of course, at www.g4tv.com/freshink. We'll see you then. Bye.